I wouldn't say that Boston College football's recruiting has gotten off to a slow start, but the pace that things are about to hit are going to make your head spin.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black. I'm the editor and publisher of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Now, I've got a lot of message from you folks out there. You've wanted to know more about recruiting. You had some questions that you wanted answered. So I have multiple things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about official visits, 4 stars, quarterbacks, and who could be the next to commit. Plus, we're going to get into the biggest surprises of spring football, all on today's show. So let's hit that off. Let's start talking some recruiting here. So now that we're into the meat of Bill O'Brien's tenure here at BC, he's got a spring behind him now. We can start to see where BC is looking at recruiting. Now, there's still kids out there that they're looking at, and this is true for every team, that are getting offers, but you know who are getting they're getting serious about by getting official visits. Now, if you don't know what an official visit is when a recruit chooses to come back to a school, or for sometimes it's the first time they've visited a school, and they make their decision to check it out. Now, official visit is paid completely by the school. So you may see kids putting up this symbol. If you're on YouTube, you can see exactly what it is. This is the official, they're taking an official visit logo that Photoshop that they've been getting. Now, there's been over 30 recruits that have decided to take official visits, ranging anywhere from safeties to running backs to offensive linemen. I mean, I have Chris Vigna here. He's an offensive lineman from New Jersey. And from all over the country, we've seen kids from Texas and Florida and Ohio and Massachusetts. They're all announcing that they're going to take official visits to Boston College. This is where things are going to get crazy. Official visits are the kids that are interested in BC in general. Because if you're not in, like, many kids are going to get an offer from Boston College, and some of them are just going to go, yeah, that's great. And they're going to post it on Twitter, and that'll be the end of it. You never hear from them again. Official visitor kids are kids that are like, ooh, I like BC. And when they get there, that official visit, that's when the school, puts them up in a hotel, takes them out to dinner, shows them around campus, has special time with the coaching staff, and the players host them. There's a lot of things that happen during those official visits. And that's a lot of times where you might have a weekend where 4 or 5 guys commit. You might have 4 or 5 guys out of that group say, yep, I'm going to commit here on the spot. On the flip side, many of these kids are taking other visits. So like Chris Vigna. This is the kid that I have up here on the screen right now. He is from New Jersey, and he has official visits set up at a bunch of different schools. He's going to be checking out. He's from Bergen Catholic, excuse me, and he's taking an official visit to, I believe, Pitt and probably Duke. So he's got 3 official visits that he's looking at, and many of these kids do too. So they may not make a decision at all. And honestly, like, kids, getting a couple of commitments is a good thing. You don't want too many, because I think many of us out here want kids that are checking out other schools too, right? Like, you want kids with Power 5 offers, and many of these kids are coming in. The official visit season starts in end of May. I think it's May 31st, and it usually goes to the end of June. So they usually have like 4 or 5 visits set up. When many of these kids have all those visits set up, you may want to wait, because you want to, you want a kid that's been to 5 schools, especially if he's gone, to see BC it right away. But on the other hand, it's nice to get him right away too, right? So there's 5 that are taking official visits, and that is where you're going to get a bulk of your commitments. So I see a school right now like Syracuse, and I hear a lot of folks buzzing about Fran Brown, the new head coach at Syracuse, and they have the not top 15 recruiting class or whatever. I warn you, don't fall in love with what Fran Brown is doing, because that is exactly the same thing that Jeff Halfley did when he first started here. Now, Jeff Halfley had COVID that screwed everything up too. But if you remember Halfley started off with a strong recruiting class that he didn't have to bring on campus. Same thing with Fran Brown. Fran Brown may have had guys on campus, but these are all many of these kids are not don't have a ton of offers. So I trust that Bill O'Brien is going to be able to put a class that can battle what Fran Brown can do. I don't think that's a big issue. And I know a lot of folks have been saying like, Fran Brown's eating Bill O'Brien's lunch. Running out and getting a million recruits right off the bat does not make a good recruiting class. I'm just going to say that. Speaking of that, let's look at 4-stars. The other thing that folks have been asking about is, could BC be getting a bunch of 4-stars or any 4-stars? Because I believe last class they didn't get any. And I want to say there's right now. I'm a 247 writer. That's my site, so I use their star system. I don't use Rivals. I don't use On3. 247 is my go-to. I look at what they have available, and there's a couple names that I think could be a potential 4-stars. Now, the biggest one I think everyone is going to be talking about. This is going to be the Gerby Lambert of this class. Remember Gerby Lambert from Catholic Memorial last year? It was a clear 4-star. Hardy Watts. Now, if you go to 247 right now, Watts is not a 4-star. He's rated an 88, so he's right on the edge. But look at his offer list. Clemson, Alabama, Penn State, like you name it, the big schools have all offered this kid. You know that in a month or two that the rating is he's going to get a bump. Just the interest in him, he's going to get a bump to a 4-star. Now, last I had heard, I'll give you a little nugget here, is he is planning on taking an official visit to BC. He's been to BC twice now. He was there for a practice, and he was at the spring game just last week, 2 weeks ago, excuse me. So Watts is someone I would watch for. He's going to be a tough one, though. I think BC's in good shape with him. I like where they're at, and I'm not sure. Alabama and Clemson can offer a kid, but that doesn't mean they're going to take him. It's the weirdest thing with recruiting. Like you could throw out a million offers, and some of these kids, you're not going to actually accept their commitment if they're not high enough on your board. And I wonder with a school like Clemson or a school like Alabama, where Watts is on their board. I bet Clemson might be, but I'm not sure where he's at. He has not named any other official visits. He hasn't named BC as an official visit yet. I have just heard from some of my sources, AJ with his sources, right, that there is a potential that he's going to take an official visit at BC. Now, yesterday on to Eagle Insider, I also had a cornerback from Sierra Canyon, California, named Jayon Young, who is a track star. Love track stars, right? He is a 4-star. And he said in an interview with 247 that BC's pushing really hard to get him to come take an official visit. Now, we're talking, a school that BC has a relationship with. Remember Roderick Pleasant? Remember that kid a couple of years ago? Another big 4-star ended up I think it was at Oregon. But BC was in his final grouping. This is another 4-star that BC could be looking at. He is taking a visit. In the schools that he's taking visits to aren't like super impressive. It's like Kansas and like Iowa State or something. So he's someone that BC could be looking at. His offer list is pretty insane. So check him out. Then the place that I always go to with 4-stars right now as well is anything to do with Darrell Wyatt, the wide receivers coach. He opens doors to kids that BC is typically not able to get. Last year, because of Halfley, that I felt like the just kind of downward trajectory of the program, it didn't feel like he had any momentum to get kids, and he had a couple, Josiah Martin and the kid that ended up at Purdue, and I'm totally blanking on his name. He was a 4-star, but they both ended up decommitting because the program was going in the wrong direction. So I would he's looking at kids at Texas. There's a kid, Mike Williams from New Jersey, that's a 4-star. There's a couple kids from Texas that he's looking at. I would not doubt Darrell Wyatt a moment that he could get a 4-star. So those are some kids to look at. And there's more offers going out as we speak, right? So that's going to be something to watch for. I still believe that BC, I made a prediction last year that they were going to get a 4-star and I failed. I think Bill O'Brien will have enough momentum to do it this year. In a moment, I want to get into some more recruiting news, including who the quarterbacks they could be looking at and Who could be the next to commit for BC? I'll explain who those could be in just a. Going to games is something that I love to do. I've been to 2 Woo Sox games, and it's only April 23rd here. Now, Game Time, if I want to go to the Red Sox, Game Time is the place I would go to get my tickets. They're an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seats, in the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. The best part about this, you're going to Fenway Park. That place is it was made by someone who who's a sadist with the way that they set those seats up. And if you're a Red Sox fan, some of those seats are terrible, but some of those are so good. You get some great seats there. You got to make sure you know which one you're getting. And with Game Time and their seat viewer, you can get that seat and know that you're going to be sitting looking at Rafael Devers. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL, and baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. So you're watching the Bruins. It's now what series have knotted up 1-1. They're heading back to Toronto. Do you think the Bruins are going to take it? Go get that money line right now over at FanDuel, and you could bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks. You could bet on the points scored by a player. If you think Jason Tatum is going to score a second triple double, they got the odds on there. They got everything. You can find it all on FanDuel. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. I hope you're all doing great out there. Now, we're talking recruiting. Of course, that's recruiting, RECROOTIN apostrophe, right? And recruiting is heating up. But the question that everyone has, we talked 4 stars. I know a lot of you had questions on that. Is the quarterback. This is the position I think everyone wants to know the most about because it's so critical in the future of a program. When you get a quarterback that you feel can develop and become a winner, you immediately start to feel like, okay, we got something going here, and this class is looking good. Now, last class we saw Jonathan. We saw Jonathan Montague. God, I couldn't think of his last name. Jonathan Montague come in, and I'm excited about him, but I also wonder, is he going to be a fit in O'Brien's system? He's much more of a runner. So I thought, this is a kid that, hey, could turn into, like a Thomas Castellanos type. But if it's more what Bill O'Brien is looking for, you might want to see a guy come in that's more of has some dual threat capabilities. You want a mobile guy, but also can throw the ball. And honestly, the class has been pretty mysterious. We've not seen many, and I'll get into who the one we've seen, many quarterbacks come on for spring ball. And I honestly think the staff is trying to keep that as quiet as possible. They want to keep that as quiet because the quarterback position is so cutthroat. It's a tough position to recruit. So I get that. There's 2 things I think we should know. One thing, they're not, I believe, and from what I've talked to people, that BC could potentially take more than 1 quarterback in this class. That is something I've heard. It's not out of the blue. So there could be multiple players. Secondly, the name that I think you should all watch for is someone I have a 247 crystal ball in, and that is Mason Drube. Mason Drube is out of Wyoming, of all places, right? Like, how many Boston College players can you name from Wyoming? And you can throw them in the comments, but don't taunt me, because if there's one that I'm missing, I apologize. But this is a kid. He's 6'3", 205 pounds. He was on campus during the spring. He came and checked out BC. That's him on your screen right now with Bill O'Brien. He's also checking out Oregon State, and he has a bunch of FCS programs. But I think this kid is perfect. And I want to read you his scouting report because I think this gives you a feel of what kind of player Mason Drube is. From Greg Biggins of 247. Drube is one of the most intriguing players we've seen in the 25 class. He has a chance to be the most heavily recruited player from the state in the last decade and has an all around game and athletic profile we are really high on. He's a three-sport athlete who also plays baseball and basketball, and as a 3-year starter on the hoops team, has averaged 11 points and 4 rebounds per game. At 6'3", 205 pounds, Drube has a projectable frame and shows true dual threat ability. He has a strong arm and throws the deeper outs and posts on a rope, but shows the ability to throw with touch, anticipation, and can layer the football between defenders with great accuracy. He doesn't run a ton, but his athleticism shows up in his pocket mobility, how he can elude pressure, extend plays, and throw on the run or take off when he needs to. He looks on balance when he throws, even when rushed, and gets the ball out quickly and can throw from different arm angles. He's a tough kid who stands tall in the pocket and will take a shot and isn't afraid to deliver one either when he gets out in the open field. A definite Power 4 prospect and should be recruited at the national level. That is who BC should be getting. And that's why I have a crystal ball. I have heard things are going great in their recruitment. I think, Oregon State is the other school to look at. But remember, folks, Oregon State isn't a power program anymore. They got the short end of the stick in this conference realignment stuff. So BC basically is the only one. He's going to take an official visit to Oregon State. We've heard that. And he's setting up one with BC. So he has not set a date yet. It's coming. It's going to come. I've heard he's going to commit over the summer. So this is a perfect kid. Like if you're looking for someone to set an official visit date, so May to June, and then make his decision, Drube is one to watch for. Next, who could be next? That's the big question. Who could be the person that you think could be the next person to commit? And this is a tough one because there's a lot of players that BC could get to pop early. Like last week, we saw TJ Green and the kid. There was another another commitment that also that also popped. But I look at some of these official visits, and I think that's where it's going to come from next. And the big name that I look at, that I think I really like, and I think that's going to come, that's visiting early, and I think will probably be the first to commit, is Bryce Lewis. Bryce Lewis is an athlete. He's 6'6", and I think he's going to probably he could play any position, but to me he looks like an edge rusher. He is rated an 87. He's the son of Tim Lewis. He's taking one official visit right now, and it's to Boston College. You could sign me up that I think he's probably going to pop. I think he'll be someone that will probably pop right away in that first group. And then there's Carmine Orozco, another defensive lineman from Mishawaka, Indiana. Hey, folks, another state that they've been pushing at, Indiana. Indiana and Oklahoma, two random states, have got a ton of official visitors coming from. And you'll see them on the road there at those two states. So those are my two. Those are my two from there. I want to say between now and then, there could be anyone that could commit. I saw Gillian, not Gillian. I saw there's another kid taking a Chris Garland of Buford, Georgia, that is taking an official visit, and he has a special announcement he's going to make. I don't think it's BC, unfortunately, but you'll see things like that pop up too, where there could be a kid that commits. Those two guys I mentioned are kids I would watch for. And hey, I'll throw a bonus two in. Kadir Dembale, a defensive lineman from Archbishop Stepanak, and Denzel Williams, his offensive line friend. I think, and those are the kids that are on the cover photo of this. I could see both of them committing to. So those are 4 names. There you go. You got some good nuggets here from AJ Black. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Now, in a moment, I want to go over and talk about 2 big surprises from the spring game and from spring football that I think are interesting themes to talk about as we get ready for the summer and get ready for summer football. We've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime and the scoreboard is not looking good. You're feeling low, not sure if your team can pull out a win. That's when you dig deep, lift your heads up, and say to yourself, time to get back in the game, pull off some bank heists, and take as much of my friend's money as I can. That's right. The smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone anytime with tons of twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. There's so much to do. Play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards. Make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball and charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests and in tournaments to get rewards and climb the big leaderboard. So go back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store or Google Play. All right, this is AJ Black, and we were just finishing up our discussion on college football recruiting. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you like that, come over to Eagle Insider right now, 30% off a subscription. Check that out. We have tons of stuff coming up, and with official visit season, you want to make sure you lock in that subscription right away. So, college spring football is over. Bill O'Brien ends his first set of practices with the Jay McGillis game that we saw on the 13th, and Bug Jones was named the Jay McGillis scholarship winner, which is a cool honor for him. I know he seemed very honored by that. So the big question is, what were some surprises of the spring? And we talked about Grayson James last week. You can go back and listen to that. But one of the biggest surprises to me was the play of the secondary. I thought going into this year, one of the biggest question marks was going to be the secondary. After a tough year last year, where the defense was just, had its moments where it was just, it couldn't stop anything. The secondary I thought played really well. They made some plays against Castellanos. They made some plays against Grayson James. We saw guys like Bug Jones, Jalen Cheek, Amari Jackson. I mean, Amari Jackson, for instance, looks every bit quarterback number one right now. Like, this kid is legit. I love the play he has, out there. Every scrimmage I watched, Amari Jackson had at least one highlight play, and I think he's going to be excellent. I love the way that Tim Lewis and the cornerbacks coach Ray Brown and whoever's coaching the safeties reimagined the safety position, because now you got Bug Jones, you have Jalen Cheek, and KP Price back there. A combination of any of those guys could be your starters next year. And then you had Cameron Martinez, who could be coming in as well. You got some talent back there. KP Price had an awesome spring. And Bug Jones did too. Bug Jones came out of nowhere. I did not know where this guy was coming from. So I thought they played very well. And you added some depth. You got Ryan Turner and Braquise Brown. I thought the secondary looked very much ready to take a big step up. They were a surprise to me because I didn't know what they were going to be like, and they looked pretty good. The second big surprise for me was the play of the offensive line. Now, another question mark going into this year was you lost both of your guards. Christian Mahogany and Kyle Hergel are both going to the NFL. You have to now change things. And they did so by moving Logan Taylor over from tackle to guard, plugging in Jude Bowery at tackle, and then plugging in Jack Conley and sometimes Kevin Klein at that other guard position. So my big question was, how would this group fit in? And I thought they looked good. And the reason I think everything works well is I think Jude Bowery is really good. I think he's going to be a very good tackle. I think folks are going to, as long as he can stay healthy, he's going to be someone you're going to want to watch for. And when you bring in guys like Conley, who's played a bunch, and put him in a position like guard where it's a little easier for him to play, I think that worked well. And Logan Taylor's fine. Like, he's moving over from tackle. He can do guard position pretty well. So you get all of these thrown together. It worked. I did not see busts. I did not see miscommunication, guys flying through into the background. I saw the offense. I saw the running game with Trayshawn Ward and Kai Robshaw when he was healthy, and Dontrell Jones doing pretty well. So I want to say my second big surprise was the offensive line. I know a lot of folks wanted to hear that, so I brought that up. Now, on tomorrow's show, more recruiting news. We hopefully will have some transfer portal news for basketball, maybe for football too. Whatever we got, we're bringing it here on Locked On BC. And by the end of the week, we'll have Mitch on to talk about the NFL draft. Thank you all for following. Follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247 and become a subscriber here for Locked On BC on YouTube. And make sure to hit that like button before you head out. And like us wherever you get your podcast to make sure that you get every episode of Locked On Boston College. Your team every day.